Coming up in news tonight, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce voices concern over a recent strike threat. Could next year's Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival celebration be canceled? We've got an update on those renovations at Potter's Key Dock, plus a major international aviation conference set to take place in Nassau next week. Welcome to Our News. I'm Dana Smith. Thanks for joining us. Top news tonight. In the wake of a strike threat by organizers of last Friday's We March Bahamas mass protests, CEO of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, Edison Sumner, said although he agrees with many of the group's ideals, a strike is not something he can stand behind.
Whenever I hear about strikes, and it's not just coming from this march, it's coming when I hear about strikes from trade unions as well, I become very, very concerned.
Sumner said while the chamber supports the ideals and the objectives of the march, he would not recommend chamber members to get involved in any strike action because he knows what a strike can do to the economy of the country.
We marched, we participated, we gathered at the gathering on Bay Street. But for me, and I may get a lot of flack for it, but hey, that's my position. I'm not going to encourage a strike action. It does nothing for business except that it will have an adverse impact on business.
Sumner said merchants in the country are already expressing concerns about business closures, taxes, losses, and other issues. Not to mention, many are still recovering from Hurricane Matthew.
When you threaten to shut a country down, it effectively impacts the entire economy, and I'm sure that's probably the impact and the effect that anybody who plans a strike action wants to have. But, does it do well for business?
Sumner said while he can't encourage strike action, he did, however, praise the march as a tremendous show of democracy. He said they had a point to prove, and speaking up for your rights is always a good thing. He said the chamber also shares many of the group's concerns.
What we liked that we saw out of that was the fact that there were a number of focus groups that were being established because of that march, and of course dealing with the concerns that are coming from civil society, concerns from citizens at large, and many of the associations in the country who were part of that process. And it's now about bringing all those resources together and deciding what is going to be the next steps. Right? The Chamber of Commerce, of course, has been advocating for many of those concerns through our own efforts. We continue to do so, and we continue working with things like looking out for freedom of information, fiscal responsibility, and accountability and transparency in government.
Well, within 24 hours of threatening to initiate a national strike, We March Bahamas organizers Renard Henfield claimed via social media that his comments were taken out of context, adding that he's going to take a back seat on the We March movement. In other news tonight, the fate of Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival could be in doubt next year as the Christie administration reveals it has not ruled out mounting calls for the event to be put on hold as the repair bill from recent hurricanes runs into the millions. Preliminary losses from Hurricane Matthew's onslaught in Grand Bahama, Andros, and New Providence in October has amounted to more than $500 million in damage, and officials are expecting this figure to rise to as much as $800 million when the repair costs from Hurricane Joaquin in 2015 are added. With the government likely to borrow $150 million to boost ongoing recovery efforts, Hurricane Relief Coordinator Shane Gibson has indicated that canceling Carnival is possible.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Gibson was optimistic that the three-day carnival that is set for May 4th through the 6th, 2017 could go on as planned, but he stressed that it would be reviewed in the weeks ahead.
Like everything else, we continue to revise our positions. Right now, I see no reason why it shouldn't happen, but I guess it'll be discussed over the next couple of weeks, couple of months. And if it is determined that it's something that we should not go on with at this time, then we won't.
Some groups have dismissed Carnival as a waste of money, insisting that it should be called off. Earlier this year, chairman of the Bahamas National Festival Commission, Paul Major, said the island would have to spend at least $7 million to host the event. But critics point out that cost overruns are almost always a given.
Other items in our ministerial budgets where we revise them from time to time, and Carnival is just like that. I mean, it's no different from any other expense that we incur. And so the government determines what the priorities are. And once we determine if something continues to be a priority, then we'll go along with it.
Design plans for the redevelopment of the Potter's Key dock are being revised to make the plan more affordable, according to Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis. Speaking to reporters this week, Davis explained work has paused as the plans have been sent back to the architects.
We had to pause to review the initial plans that were put forward by our architects and designers, which we found to be rather elaborate. And so we're just reviewing those to ensure that it is designed and constructed in an affordable way.
The project was already delayed due to the passage of Hurricane Matthew. Government has already spent $3.1 million of the proposed $12 million for the redesign of the Potter's Key dock. Plans initially included designs for an expanded parking lot, new entrance and exit ways, and the overall beautification of the area. Well, police in Grand Bahama are investigating a stabbing incident which left one man in hospital early this morning. According to police reports, the victim was at a business establishment on East Mall Drive shortly after 3 a.m. when he got into an altercation with a group of men, which resulted in him being stabbed about the body. He was transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital via private vehicle, where he is listed in serious condition. Here in the capital, police say they potentially foiled several armed robberies after two men were arrested and taken into custody after the duo first led police on a short chase. One of the men was already out on bail at the time. According to police reports, shortly after 10 a.m. yesterday, police received a report of two suspicious men driving a Honda Odyssey on Carmichael Road, believed to be planning to rob several businesses in that area. Well, mobile division officers spotted the two men in the Golden Gates shopping center, and upon seeing the police, the men threw a handgun out of the car window and sped off. After a short chase, officers brought the vehicle to a stop and arrested the two men. A pistol with 10 live rounds of ammunition was recovered. Police also discovered the Honda they were riding in was recently stolen. Police also confirmed one of the men is a prolific armed robber who is on bail for multiple armed robberies. When Our News returns, with less than a month until the new year, Senator and Surgeon Dr. Dwayne Sands is questioning government's efforts to implement NHI. So stay tuned.